Alright, so I know this isn't a paranormal channel, but I thought I should just share this anyways because I captured a few pieces of evidence on our last trip to Hillsville in just about an hour outside of Melbourne, Australia. So we stayed at a place called Hillsville Sanctuary Resort, and it's basically just like an old motel in the woods near Hillsville Sanctuary, which is like a zoo. So we stayed in room number 6 and didn't think much of it, just like a normal kind of motel when we arrived. But after the first night, the next day we went to Hillsville Sanctuary, got to see all the animals, went to an old pub, the Hillsville Hotel, had a great dinner. Then we headed back to the room, and I was using a little GoPro at the time, recording that, a Hero Session 4. And when we got to the room, the kids were playing, and my wife set up a little pop tent that my brother Derek got back in the States. And I asked a question to the kids, "Are you guys having fun?" But at the time, I captured a voice, an EVP, electronic voice phenomenon, response to the question. So when I got home and started editing, I heard it, and it freaked me out. So I thought I should just share that first piece of evidence with you guys. So I'll go ahead and play that now. I'll play it 4 times so you can hear it and see what it says right after I ask the question, "Are you guys having fun?" Spaceship. Hi guys.
Hi.
Having fun?
Yep.
Having fun?
Yep.
Having fun?
Yep.
Having fun?
Yep.
Alright, so what I think the response is saying, what I clearly hear it saying is "I am." And it's in a creepy kind of male voice, and it sounds kind of muffled a bit. And it sounds to me like an Australian accent. I've lived in Australia for over 7.5 years now. It sounds like "I am." Having fun?
Yep.
Having fun?
Yep.
Having fun?
Yep.
So that was really creepy at 3 in the morning when I was editing the footage while everybody's asleep with the headphones on. Of course, I didn't know at the time there. I edited back at home months later. And that wasn't the only piece of evidence from the hotel, definitely. And actually, there's a lot of weird experiences tied to the hotel, I would say. So the next morning after the zoo, after we got that voice that I didn't know, I went bird watching just in this little forested paddock just behind the hotel. And I went alone, of course, because the kids and TJ were still sleeping. This is really early, before 7 o'clock in the morning. And of course, it's a bit creepy in the forest, but there was a mist and a light rain that morning. Very dark in that forest, didn't see many birds. But what I did see and felt was a weird vibe, and immediately something to my left caught my eye, and it was red to me, and I was like, uh-oh, what is this, like red eyes or some kind of creepy forest creature or something like that. But when I further kind of kept walking and looked around, I could see that it was an old smashed up car from maybe like 60s or 70s or maybe even the 50s, I don't know. But it looked like a wrecked car, and the front end was just completely kind of compressed on it. And I thought, geez, that's weird. It was crashed into like a fence, just like a border wire fence around this little forest I was in. And I just thought, this is really odd. Like, why is this car just smashed out here? And it totally looked wrecked, so whoever was driving that car probably got pretty injured, or I don't even want to say, but maybe even didn't make it. And I've been in a few car accidents myself. When I was younger, I did have a real bad head-on collision, so I know that impact and what it can do. So I thought that was strange, and I just continued. I did photograph it, so I did just continue and keep going bird watching. But then I just kept getting a weird vibe after that, and then it did start to rain a little bit harder, so I decided to head back to the hotel room. And when I was heading back, I just had this weird feeling that I was being followed, even though I was the only person there. And even I was recording on the GoPro at the time, and even I mentioned that, and you can see me turn back and say, shit, I thought I was being followed. Like, I could literally thought somebody was right behind me. So hopefully we could be a little dry. Thought somebody was walking behind me. So I had that kind of presence and that feeling that I wasn't alone, definitely. And then as soon as I got back to the hotel room, I kind of like tried to go back to sleep for a while because TJ and the kids were still asleep, but I couldn't, and I just started getting this really bad migraine all of a sudden, and my head was just like, oh, and then it reminded me of being in that head-on car accident when I was about 19, and I had the worst concussion I'd ever had in my life. And it wasn't as bad as that, but I do know the feeling of like a migraine and that nausea that comes with it. So I thought that was strange. I didn't connect the dots at all at that time that I'd just been in the forest, you know, bird watching, but saw this smashed up car, and then had come back, thought somebody was following me, and then now I'm sitting in this room, like awake, and I can't rest. And I just had this really bad kind of headache, felt drained. So we did have plans to go to a winery later that day, Number 7. Highly recommend it, good spot. But on the way there, I was so sick that I couldn't even drive the car, and I had to ask TJ to drive. And as soon as we got there, I had to grab a plastic bag, and I literally vomited into a plastic bag. That's how bad I was all of a sudden. Like, I just had the worst migraine, didn't want to be there. I was in a, like, kind of, my mood had been just completely defeated at that point, and I didn't know why any of this was happening. And occasionally, yeah, of course, I'll get, you know, I've got 2 little kids, I got a stressful job, I'll get headaches and things every now and then. Migraines, you know, not every week or anything like that, or even every few months, but occasionally. But just out of the blue, you know, I'm on a vacation, this is our first trip in a while, I just thought it was weird that I just got this. And as soon as we got in there, you know, I felt, oh no, I felt like I could be sick again. But I pushed through, and then like halfway through the dinner, or halfway through the lunch, it just disappeared. Like the headache, the whole vibe, everything, it like completely lifted, which was really weird. Usually when I push on like that and eat something, I know I'm gonna probably keep puking, or I'm gonna have to go back to bed or lay in the car or something like that. None of that happened. It was just like it completely lifted. I drove to get the kids after that some dessert, and we went to go play in the park and continue on the day, and it was fine. And it was just weird. Like, it just completely vanished. The headache, migraine, that whole feeling of having like hit my head on something, or it was just strange. Never happened to me before that way. And then later that night, the kids were asleep, TJ asleep, I'm on the laptop doing some work, and the lights were on a dimmer. They were on in the room, but then all of a sudden the lights just went like completely black, and they just turned off. And that was just like, okay, that was a bit like, this is an old place, maybe it's an electric thing, but it never happened the whole time we'd been there. We'd been there a few nights already, had no problems with the lights or electricity or anything like that. So I thought that was a bit odd. And let me paint the picture of this motel. Like, you're out in the woods, and there's really nothing kind of around you. Maybe some other farm properties and things along a road with like no lights and things like that. It's a kind of spooky place in a way, because you hear like animal noises that you've never heard before. I'm an avid camper, and TJ, my partner, is as well. So we're out in the outdoors a lot. You know, we've been camping in America, Australia, so we know the sounds usually of the forest. And I was hearing weird sounds that I'd never heard before. Not like that magpie lark that you can hear in the background, but just weird kind of forest sounds, different kind of animals maybe that I've never come across. But every night I heard these sounds in the forest just outside of our room. And on the last night there, I was vlogging in the bathroom, just talking about how on the GoPro, all these things happen on the GoPro as well, the EVPs and all the visual stuff. And this is, I'll get to that now. So I'm talking on the GoPro about what we're gonna do or what we did that day. And I'm in the bathroom, and I can see, you know, there's no viewfinder, of course, on a GoPro. And I'm just talking in front of the mirror. And I recorded, I didn't know at the time, but what you would classify as an orb, or like a ball of light or energy or whatever you want to call it. It's not a bug, it's not dust, it's totally like intelligent, moving, and it flies, and it just goes into my body and my shoulder. And I've seen this kind of behavior before, this pattern before, on like TV shows like Ghost Adventures or Ghost Hunters or any of this kind of stuff, or just on YouTube, random videos. this orb is just literally flying and flies into my body. And TJ likes to joke that I'm an empath or whatever. I don't really try to like put any meaning into that kind of stuff, but I am interested in the paranormal. But of course, since having kids, I kind of like, not really pursued that route at all, or trying to go after that kind of vibe, attract that vibe at all. But I know it exists. I've had experiences, throughout my life in America as well, coming from a kind of like a folklore city, like where I grew up. It's kind of like there's a lot of urban legends, and my friends and I at young ages have experienced clear paranormal experiences throughout my childhood. Up until even moving here to Australia, I've had a few interesting occurrences, but never like this where I've documented it and things, captured the audio. And so we left that hotel on the next morning after I got the orb flying into me. And we headed to a few different places, but the last place we went to was this like kind of a dairy farm called Yarra Valley Dairy. And it seemed like an old kind of, dairy farm, the building and structure itself. And we just kind of ordered some stuff, and the kids, we were the only one with kids there. It's a smaller kind of like shack kind of place, it looks like a deli, but with like nice winery things around, and they make the cheese there. Didn't see any cows though, but just some goats. But my kids, just goofing off a bit, and I'm recording with I've recorded with different devices. I use a Canon 60D. Also, my wife uses her iPhone as well, and I use that GoPro, little Session 4, because it's so small. But of course, in a GoPro, the audio isn't that great, but it seems like it's a bit pinched, I'd say. Like you get like a higher frequency. It's more of an action cam, and it has the underwater capability that we all know and love. It's not meant for a really good audio recording, and I do know a little bit about audio recording with my work in doing audio production for a long time. So yeah, you can tell it's kind of like a different, it picks up a not a good range, I would say, of sound generally. But on none of my other devices did I get any kind of responses or capture anything visually. But with the GoPro, it seems that it works. And there was this point where my kids are playing in front of like the deli counter, and there's like a big historic like pole, column, whatever you want to call it, and my kids are playing on it, and kind of like myself, I'm standing there. It seems kind of like, we are kind of blocking that area, but there's nobody around us. But I play the GoPro footage, and I just hear this creepy voice, and it sounds like it's a different male voice, completely different. And I'll play it here, and you can hear, I'll play it 4 times again, and you can see what you think it says. So what I clearly hear is somebody saying, "Let me through, let me through." One like that, just saying, "Let me through." Which is, kind of creepy. Sounds a little slightly aggressive, maybe an old worker that used to work there. I'm not sure, but definitely we didn't hear it at the time, of course, and hearing that again at a different location in the same city would lead me to believe that Hillsville might be a pretty haunted place if you're wanting to check that kind of stuff out. So I don't know, take what you will from this, but anytime I capture any evidence or document anything, I think it's my duty to post it up and put it out there. I don't doctor any of this stuff, and like I said, I don't actively seek paranormal stuff, but I know a lot of people out there do, so I'm willing to contribute to that evidence and that body of work. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you won't see me doing many of these videos because I don't want to be freaked out by ghosts and stuff like that. But usually things are happen for a reason. So like connecting that story about the car earlier, maybe somebody, possibly I would say a younger man, may have died in that car collision, possibly followed me back to the room. I'm not sure. There is an energy, definitely room number 6 at that hotel, and definitely at historic places you're gonna find that kind of old energy. So just be aware. Of course, I sage and do those kind of things when I come home from trips, and come home from a bad day or something like that, yeah, make sure you use sage and just have good affirmations and positivity. But also, just protect yourself if you're religious or do any of that stuff. And anytime you go into a national park or a state forest, just realize there is like an energy to the land, spiritual energy that could be negative. So always just bless yourself, bless the people, ask for a blessing from the indigenous people of that land you stand upon. And yeah, hopefully that'll help keep you safe. Thanks, guys. See you next time.